Today in News Tech, local newspapers as we know them aren't dying, they're dead. But they can be resurrected as a multi-platform digital news organization.
So Matt, this came across my desk on Twitter this morning. It was retweeted by one of our authors that we followed before, Don Seifert. Right. And I spotted this because he is the managing editor of the Boston Business Journal. So he's taking note of things that are happening in his local market. And so he retweeted this post from the Charles River Regional Chamber. It is a bit of a grabby headline here. Local newspapers aren't dying, they're dead. But what this is reporting is that Gannett has come in and has bought tons of local papers around the country. This has been something we've covered time and again. Right. And even Don Seifert covered where last month Gannett shut down Saturday print for 136 of their local papers. Right. Now, this chamber is reporting that 3 of their local papers that are under Gannett's umbrella are not only going to be stopping print, they're going to be stopping existing. So these are just completely gone.
Okay, no website, no more web presence at all?
They're going away completely.
Yeah, so this is how the news deserts spring up, and it's really unfortunate. It looks like some of them are going online only, and they're trying that. But this is the regionalization of the news. It's getting out of communities. It's getting out of really hyper-local journalism and just...
This paragraph right here encapsulates that perfectly, is that when you notice the coverage from your local paper has no local news, then what good is it doing? And so this seems to be what Gannett is doing, is it'll go in and buy the local outlet. It'll pull any of the resources out. They get moved to a regional level so that they can disseminate, and basically they can give you more content for less money. And you end up with these husks of papers. And so he's reporting now that there's just a news desert when it comes to these small suburbs outside of Boston. They just don't have right here. Gannett has not had a reporter detailing Watertown for years.
It's no longer a local paper.
These are really old publications. I mean, the Needham Times, 1932. And it's just... Boston is one of the founding cities, and their papers have been around forever, and now you're losing all these bits of history.
Exactly.
It's really, really sad. And as far as Gannett goes, I shared that article with you, Christopher, that just this week they took a bunch of their Wisconsin papers, and they're no longer printing in Wisconsin. So there goes your local business. They're printing in Illinois.
I mean, we know the cost of paper, the cost of production is a really big overhead for papers, and when you start that's almost like mini outsourcing.
Let's put it in a positive light, though, and look at the solutions that are out there, because let's just revise this headline and say local newspapers aren't dying. They're dead and reincarnating as something totally different. It is possible, and it is happening. You just need to adapt to the new environment. I mean, it's just like evolution.
News as a concept is not going anywhere.
Right, exactly.
Proliferation of it is. It needs to be.
It's dissemination that's the big thing right now of, what are we going to be resurrected as? And I think that's what we've been trying to do with a lot of our recent coverage of success stories. I know this one's a bit of a pessimistic, but we have been doing some coverage of success stories where people are reinventing themselves. They've left a metro paper and they've gone and they want to create something that's local, that's neighborhood, and they've actually found a lot of traction. So it is possible, and that may be where some of these communities will end up turning.
These deserts are prime opportunities for entrepreneurs to come back in there. Ideally, you'd have someone like a Cherry Road Media or some locally owned corporation that can come in and buy the newspaper and save it before the publisher owner just retires and they can't find anyone to work, because a lot of people are having that issue these days, just in retail, just in general. If they can just keep it going or resurrect it as an online only. But we need to have somebody in these communities.
One thing that might be worth looking into is community feedback on this, because if you've gone for, how many months or years without having local news, how are you getting your news? Do you miss it? Do you want local news? Is anybody expressing that? And to me, I'm not seeing anyone expressing that.
They don't really recognize that it's happening. Their attention ends up just going to like national or international news, and they just kind of get wrapped up in all this drama that's happening all over the world and lose touch with their communities. If the information is not there, it's not like they're going to recognize, I haven't been educated on the business community, I don't really know what's going on. Very few people are going to recognize that.
I would argue that's part of what journalism is helping people know what they don't know.
What to focus on, right? You may not even realize this is happening, and you might be interested in it. This is what's happening. Today in News Tech, the podcast covering innovation in digital journalism. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast apps. We'll see you tomorrow.
At our hometown, we help newspapers build WordPress websites, design native apps, and develop digital subscription models. If you are interested in a free prototype of your publication on WordPress, go to ourhometown.com and click the Contact Us button.